Teen Babes, I remember when we made Teen Babes for Monsanto, that, to me, it was an educational tool. Because we were
for you or for
for the listening public. So it was fun just kind of picking songs that would kind of confuse and blow away our peers at the time.
Yep.
And it was fun. And Des Codina, who was in Black Flag, was in our band while we were rehearsing it. He was really fun, but he had a much more kind of boogie-woogie taste. And we were like more weird, like, you know, Shangri-La's David Bowie and Boyce and Hart. So it all worked together, but we called Geza X, who produced all of our favorite kind of LA records.
The Germs, the Bags, the Dead Kennedys, and perhaps even Black Flag. I'd already done all of those. And I was, you know, getting a reputation as sort of like the West Coast punk producer. Jeff and Steve both made it clear to me that they wanted to sort of like make the record almost like an anthology of some of the places that they had come from and some of the things that had influenced them, but also to bring a lot of these songs in a new form to the kids that were like, you know, kind of, you might say, snooty about punk rock being its own sort of 3-chord thing, and which it never was. So we were all on board with that concept.
And I think our parents loaned us $1,000, and the guy who put it out, Bill Bartell, had Gasatanka Records, and he put out like the other half, and we did it in 3 days. But that record is, you know, can I tell it like it is?
Am I allowed to talk about drugs?
We all were on speed, and with crystal meth.
You know, it's a miracle I kept my pants on. I mean, it's like, you know, I was like really pretty whacked.
We were on a lot of the old school kind of crystal meth. So we took a lot of very, very strong stimulants.
You know, that record kind of gives me a stomachache to listen to.
It brings back almost like a dark chill, you know.
But we did most of the whole album in one night with the drummer didn't know we were on speed.
I knew something was going on, for sure.
He was just like keeping up, and he just absolutely at the end, just like at 9 o'clock in the morning when we were laying down Linda Blair 1984, he said, I cannot do anymore. I can't. And he had no idea why we had so much energy.
Well, it's like the Beatles and the Hamburg. It's got that fun, it's got that jittery immediacy.
Yeah, but it's still, you know, it's not. I think it's
so kid.
I think it's completely unfair for artists to record on stimulants. You blow all your peers away, and they were like handicapped from the start.
So we should create regulations.
But so that's our. So I would have to say that's our druggy album.
Well, I just remember Geza telling us that him and his friends had spent a lot of time trying to kill Mick Jagger with their minds.
For sessions like that, where there's already like sort of like this like kind of strange magic happening, you know, everybody had a mad gleam in their eye at the sessions, and I'm sure we were talking about all kinds of stuff like that. There were many eerie moments in that recording session that I have not experienced them ever or since. What stands out in my mind as like something unbelievable was when they did the track for Savior Machine, the Bowie song. And in the studio, coming out the big speakers, look, I'm still getting chills. Coming out the big speakers, the guitar and bass riff on speed, late at night, lights dimmed, and the slow, eerie way that they played that song, I thought it was like some ghostly thing coming from another dimension. It to this day, I don't think I've ever experienced anything that powerfully, demonically transcendent. Like, I felt like they had literally pulled that song out of the pit and put it in the speakers.
But okay, so we decided in 1984 to pay tribute to Kiss.
Yeah, because Kiss were like the most unhit band in our scene.
You couldn't wear a Kiss t-shirt in 1983. Like, you know, it just wasn't part of the deal.
This was like really, really very important because Kiss was probably one of the most influential bands to some of the early punkers, and the one that they hid the most when they went to punk.
I can't even tell you how many people went see Kiss at Magic Mountain the first time. It was like the whole punk. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but... And then in New York, when the Kiss movie came on, it was me and Lydia Lunch and Kid Congo and, like, the drummer from Teenage Jesus. And I mean, we had to watch that movie before we took the subway up to see the Cramps on Halloween night. Like, we had to finish the movie. You know, I mean, we loved Kiss.
So I believe that when Redd Kross covered a Kiss song, I think that they were making a very, very specific statement. They were going, this is a reality in our scene, and we're not going to hide it. And y'all just better just fess up.
I was immediately impressed by the fact they did a Kiss song, because I was just young enough to re-embrace some of the bands from my teen years that I'd rejected, you know, the guilty pleasures. And I think Kiss and Aerosmith and Sabbath were kind of coming back, you know, to me in my mid-20s. So there they are, having the balls to do a Kiss song, you know, and having fun with it.
You know, their cover of Deuce is better than the original, I thought.
That version of Deuce is like the best thing ever. I mean, that's my favorite, like, that's my favorite Kiss performance. It's not Kiss, it's them. It's so good. It's like taking something that they loved and elevating it even higher.
And then let's see, there was Shangri-La's on the record. There was, let's see, Stooges. Stooges were always a huge influence.
Yeah, but we chose the weird spacey song.
A weird ballad.
So their version of the Stooges, it's really hard to cover like a song like that and give it as distinct a sound as the original, you know. And they did that with each song.
And they're doing a Stooges song, so I know that their heads aren't entirely up their ass. And I just loved Citadel. I listened to the Stones version. I don't think it compares. I love Redd Kross's version.
Their version of Citadel is incredible.
Okay, so then we did the Bewitched song.
The evolution of the band starts when you hear them play Blow You a Kiss in the Wind on Teen Babes from Monsanto. The evolution of the band is firmly in place right there. Like, hey, we can do harmonies. Hey, we can do a 3-minute song instead of a 48-second song, you know. So yeah, I think punk rock was the training wheels for the band that they became.
It was like, oh, these are the Redd Kross guys from the Punk Rock Flyers. They don't look very punk rock to me. They look like Alice Cooper, and the music had this full kind of in the garage edge to it. But I was hearing melodies, thankfully, and harmonies, and I was hearing groovy. Man, it was just it was the culmination of everything that was inspiring my generation encapsulated into one big magic 8-ball.
What a brilliant title for a record, and at that time, you know, when most records were called, like, you know, Fight to Unite or whatever. It was like Teen Babes from Tomorrowland, which they eventually changed to Teen Babes from Monsanto. What the fuck is Monsanto?
We could make up some mythology that we were really prophetic and like we're making this comment about chemical companies. Yeah, but I think the more literal reference, and it was a ride at Disneyland that was sponsored by the Monsanto company.
It was the journey through to the center of a molecule. And you could smoke pot because they didn't have...
like they didn't have security cameras on it. And so it was sort of like the, the delinquent hangout.
Another thing is, with Teen Babes, I knew that we would find our audience, because if anyone knew these songs, they would instantly like us and we would like them and we'd be able to be friends. And that's what happened.
So rather than an education, it was more of a distress.
It was a cry for help. So yeah, it was our Morse code to the other cool people around the country. And it worked. It totally did. True. I mean, we became friends with so many people that we're still friends with now.
Then the Teen Babes record, I remember listening and liking right away because they were playing a Kiss song. And we were into Kiss in the mid-'80s when Kiss was completely uncool. We were also covering Kiss songs live, and so it was like, somebody else that's into the same stuff we are. And
yeah, that's what I thought with that record for sure. A band that wasn't afraid of those influences.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, the amazing thing about Teen Babes was like, when we started Green River, there were these parties that were at this guy Chris Peppard's house, and it was like he was friends with some of the East Side metal guys, and Stone had become friends with us, who were like the downtown punk rock guys, and so we were having these parties where these two different factions were coming together, and we started bringing our own records and started turning each other onto things. And Teen Babes was one of the records I remember that both sides sort of liked. And I think it's because they were playing Kiss. But there was also the, Stooges and like, Rolling Stones, and it made sense when they played those songs. So Redd Kross was like, sort of a big influence, for the beginning of Green River. I mean, it was sort of like, oh, there's this band in Hollywood who's sarcastic and heavy and psychedelic and punk.
That was a record that, as far as Seattle goes, what was happening kind of in Seattle was sort of the metal dudes and the punk dudes were sort of like starting to, cross-pollinate a little bit, and that was a record that I think everybody could go like, this rocks.
And they had like a really clear idea of what they were and what they wanted to do, and they did not give two fucks about like what other punk rock people would think about them or anything like that.
That record, Teen Babes from Monsanto, is when we actually came out as rock stars.
We were fans of showmanship. Our first concert was a Kiss concert. It left a big impact on me.
We always said we were not a people's band. Like those kind of groups were like the people's band. They looked like their audience.
Redd Kross didn't really fit in with any scene at the time. They weren't hardcore punk. They weren't like Black Flag, fuck the cops. They wanted to be famous. They wanted to, tour and play and be rock stars like Kiss.
And we started making an entrance anywhere it was possible. You go on stage, you have your like weird clothes on, and people would laugh at you or they gasp or whatever, but it was like a big part of the show.
Well, yeah, I think they're kind of playing up the sort of rock star thing with influences, from like the Stones or, Kiss or whatever, the glam aspect. I think it was kind of a welcome change from the sort of PC, anti-rock star attitudes that came along with hardcore and punk rock, right? But they never acted like they were rock stars. It was just more, I think, having fun with it.